Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Shri Gurudev Ki Jai. Nitya Pravishtam Vishnupad Rashita Rashita Shmad Shri Bhaktivedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitya Pravishtam Vishnupad Rashita Rashita Shmad Shri Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitya Pravishtam Vishnupad Rashita Rashita Shmad Shri Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitya Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtarashata Shmad Shila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitya Pravishta Mahabhagavat Shila Goksharas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitya Pravishta Shila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Nitya Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Shila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Bhatta Das Raghunath Shara Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shigor Parshad Vrinda Ki Jai. Namachay Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Kshetra Mandal Gaura Mandala Vraja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Sarva Abhishta Vidati Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Radha Kund Shama Kund Ki Jai. Shri Muna Devi Ganga Devi Ki Jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai. Shri Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shri Purnamasi Yogamaya Ki Jai. Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai. Samagata Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Grantaraj Śrīmad Bhāgavatam Ki Jai. Shri Nitai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Om Jnanatirmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Śrīmad Bhakti Vedanta Narayaniti Namine. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namaha. Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha. Yam Pravrajantam Anupetam Apeta Krityam Dvaipayano Virahakatara Ajuhava Putreti Tanmayataya Taravo Bhinedu Stam Sarva Bhuta Hridaya Munimanatosmi Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Shrinvatang Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridantasto Yabadrani Vidhunoti Suhritsatam Nashta Prayeshvabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Tavai Vasmi Na Jivami Tvaya Vina Iti Vigyaya Radhe Tvam Nayamam Charanantikam Bhaktya Vihina Aparada Lakshay Kshiptastakama Ditarangamadhe Kripa Maitam Sharanam Prapana Vrinde Namaste Charanaravinda Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Rama Rama Hare Hare. Dandavat pranams Pradyumna Prabhu and Madhavi Didi. Dandavat pranams. All right, so recap. So Sati left Lord Shiva despite his advice, telling her not to go to the sacrifice of Daksha. And then Sati got a cold response from Daksha, and Sati then condemned Daksha. And we read a few times what her condemnations. And so then she says, finally, after condemning her father, she says, "My body is a source of embarrassment because it came from you. It's connected to you." So then she gives up her body. And then there's a great cry arose in the sky from everybody in the universe. How could Sati, the most chaste woman, and anyhow, how could this happen? Everybody was completely bewildered and saddened. So then Bhrigu Rishi, he did something like he made oblations into the yajna, and from that, from the fire then came all the ribus, these demigods called the ribus, and they drove away all of Lord Shiva's attendants. And then chapter 5, let's just read directly from here now. Shiva hearing from Narad Muni about Sati's death and how his soldiers have been driven away by the ribus, Lord Shiva became greatly angry. In great anger, Shiva plucked a hair and threw it on the ground. From that hair, a fearful black demon, Virabhadra, appeared. He was as high as the sky and as bright as the 3 suns, with hair like blazing fire, fearsome teeth, a garland of skulls of human beings, and thousands of arms equipped with weapons. When Virabhadra asked with folded hands, "What shall I do?" What shall I do? Lord Shiva ordered him to kill Daksha and his soldiers at the sacrifice. Thus ordered, Virabhadra circumambulated Lord Shiva. He considered himself capable of coping with any power offered against him. Accompanied by the associates of Shiva, carrying a fearful trident, Virabhadra proceeded towards the sacrifice, making a thundering sound with his foot ornaments. A great dust storm was created by them, causing darkness. Everyone assembled in the sacrificial arena wondered where the dust was coming from. "Where is this dust coming from?" They said, "Where is this dust coming from? This cannot be because of wind or cows passing, or plunders, because the powerful king Prachina Bodhi would punish the plunders. Is the dissolution of the planet about to occur?" Prasuti and the women said, "This danger is the result of Daksha's sin. He insulted innocent Sati and caused her death while her sisters watched." Link. Prasuti could understand that this danger was also because of Daksha's neglecting the prestige and honor of Lord Shiva. Therefore, she describes the power of Lord Shiva. Prasuti says, and Prasuti is the mother of Sati. So Prasuti said, Lord Shiva dances at the time of dissolution with scattered hair, piercing the rulers of the directions with his trident, waving his flag-like arms, holding weapons, laughing and roaring like thunder. How can anyone, even Brahma, have good fortune after angering Lord Shiva, who is terrifying in appearance, has intolerable strength, and scatters the planets by the movement of his brows? While people were speaking like this, Daksha saw dangerous omens from all sides, from the earth and the sky. Virabhadra, along with Lord Shiva's associates, holding various weapons, ran all around the sacrificial arena, and thus began to create disturbances. Destruction of the sacrifice. They destroyed pillars, women's quarters, the assembly hall, the kitchen, the residential quarters, and sacrificial pots. They extinguished the sacrificial fire, tore down the boundary line of the sacrificial arena, and urinated there. They blocked the way of the fleeing sages. They threatened the women and arrested the demigods. Maniman arrested Bhrigumuni. Virabhadra arrested Daksha. Chandesha arrested Pusha. And Andishwar arrested Bhaga. Stones were continuously pelting. All the priests and others were greatly aggrieved and started dispersing in fear for their lives. The activities of Virabhadra. Virabhadra tore off the mustache of Bhrigu, who had smiled, showing his mustache after Daksha insulted Shiva. Then Virabhadra plucked out the eyes of Bhaga, who encouraged Daksha by the movement of his eyebrows in that assembly. Then he knocked out the teeth of Pusha, who by smiling sympathetically had shown his teeth, just as Lord Baladev knocked out the teeth of Dantavakra. Then he tried to behead Daksha with sharp weapons by sitting on his chest, but he was unsuccessful. He then tried to do it with hymns as well as weapons, but still it was hard to cut. Thus Virabhadra was exceedingly bewildered. Then Virabhadra cut off Daksha's head with a wooden device meant for killing sacrificial animals. Thus Daksha became a sacrificial animal himself. Seeing this, the followers of Lord Shiva expressed great joy, while others expressed grief. Virabhadra, in great anger, then offered Daksha's head in a sacrificial fire as an oblation. After setting fire to the whole arena, he departed for Kailāsa. And then the next chapter, this is the chapter we're going to be reading today. We read the first 8 verses yesterday. So, link. After the sacrifice was destroyed by Virabhadra, all those who had been injured and fled approached Lord Brahma for help. All the devatas, priests, and guests, wounded and defeated by Lord Shiva's followers, approached Brahma and informed him of what had happened. Brahma and Vishnu, knowing that this would happen, did not go to the sacrifice. Lord Brahma spoke to the demigods. You cannot be happy in executing a sacrifice if you offend a great personality. Though you desire to live happily, it is better that you do not live. You have excluded Lord Shiva from his share of the sacrifice. Therefore, you are all offenders. If you desire to live, you should please him with pure hearts and fall down at his lotus feet, since he is pleased easily. That's his name, Ashu Tosh. Ashu means quickly, and Tosh means pleased. So he's very quickly, very easily pleased. When Lord Shiva is angry, the world and its protectors cannot exist. He was especially sorry because of losing his wife and the harsh words spoken by Daksha. Therefore, you should at once go and beg his pardon. Then the demigod said, Please give us some way to do this. We are surrendered unto you. And I, Indra, you, the sages, or any embodied being do not know how powerful Lord Shiva is. This is Brahma speaking. He is completely independent. Then who would dare to offend him? After thus instructing the devatas, the Pitas, and the Prajeshas, the lords of the living entities, Brahma, along with all of them, he left for Kailāsa, the abode of Lord Shiva. And now we're going to read a description of Kailāsa hill, and then the description of the Alakā region, and then Darśana of Lord Shiva as seen by the demigods. That's what we're reading today. All right. Do you mind when I do such a long recap like that? I just really like to get the feel of the story where we are, and so that's why I like to. I don't know. Okay. Yeah, it's already 7:25. Anyhow, hopefully we can finish what I was planning on reading today. Janmoshadi tapo mantra yoga siddhar naretarai jushtam kinnara gandharvar apsarobhivritam sada. The abode known as Kailash is full of different herbs and vegetables, and it is sanctified by Vedic hymns and mystic yoga practice. Thus, the residents of that abode are demigods by birth and have all mystic powers. Besides them, there are other human beings who are known as Kinnaras and Gandharvas and are accompanied by their beautiful wives who are known as Apsaras, or angels. Nana mani maya shringar, nana dhatu vichitritai, nana druma lata gulmar, nana mriga ganavritai. Kailāsa is full of mountains filled with all kinds of valuable jewels and minerals, and surrounded by varieties of valuable trees and plants. The top of the hill is nicely decorated by various types of deer. Nana mala prasavanar, nana kandara sanubhi, ramanam viharantinam, ramanai siddhayoshitam. There are many waterfalls, and in the mountains there are many beautiful caves in which the very beautiful wives of the mystics are found. Mayura kekabhirutam mardandhali vimurchitam plavitai raktakantanam kujitaischa patatrinam. On Kailash Hill, there is always the rhythmical sound of the peacock's sweet vibrations and the bees humming. Cuckoos are always singing, and other birds whisper amongst themselves. Avayantam ivo dastar dvijan kama dugar drumai vrajantam iva matangar grinantam iva nircharai. There are tall trees with straight branches that appear to call the sweet birds, and when herds of elephants pass through the hills, it appears that Kailash Hill moves with them. When the waterfalls resound, it appears that Kailash Hill does also. Mandarai parijataischa saralaishchopashobitam tamalai shalatalaischa kovidarasanarjunai chutai kadambar nipaischa nagapunaga champakai patala shokabakulai kundai kuro bakairapi. The whole of Kailash Hill is decorated with various kinds of trees, of which the following names may be mentioned: Mandara, Parijata, Sarala, Tamala, Tala, Kovidara, Asana, Arjuna, Amarajati, the mango tree, Kadamba, Duli Kadamba, Naga, Punaga, Champaka, Patala, Ashoka, Bakula, Kunda, and Kurabaka. The entire hill is decorated with such trees, which produce flowers with fragrant aromas. No. Back. Okay, sorry. Swarnarna Shatapatraischa Vararenuka Jativi Kubjakar Malika Pischa Madhavi Bhischa Manditam. There are other trees also which decorate the hill, such as the golden lotus flower, the cinnamon tree, Malati, Kubja, Malika, and Madhavi. Panasodu Parashvata Laksha Hingubi Burjar Osha Dibir Pungai Rajapugaischha Jambubi. Kailash Hill is also decorated with such trees as Kata, jackfruit, Julada, banyan trees, Palakshas, Nyagrodas, and trees producing asafoetida. Also, there are trees of betel nuts and Purjapatra, as well as Rajpuga, blackberries, and similar other trees. Karjuramratakamradhyai Priyala Madhukingudai Drumajati Viranyaisha Rajitam Venukichakai. There are mango trees, Priyala, Madhuka, and Inguda. Besides these, there are other trees, like thin bamboos, Kichaka, and varieties of other bamboo trees, all decorating the tract of Kailāsa hill. Kumudotpalaka kalara Shatapatra vanardhibi Nalinishu kalam kujat Khagavrindo pashobhitam Mrigai Shanka Mrigai Krodar Mrigendrar Rikshashalyakai Kavayai Sharabar Vyagrai Rurubir Mahishadibi. There are different kinds of lotus flowers, such as Kumuda, Utpala, and Shatapatra. The forest appears to be decorated the forest appears to be a decorated garden, and the small lakes are full of various kinds of birds who whisper very sweetly. Birds whisper? No, okay, sorry. Kujat is, because this word kujat is also in the song, the Shraddha Goswami Ashtakam. Kujat kokila hamsa sara satana kirni mayura kule. So kujat doesn't mean, kujat is, oh God, I forgot. Anyways, I think it can be chirping, but I remember when we translated the Shraddha Goswami Ashtakam. Anyhow. There are many kinds of other animals also, like deer, monkeys, boars, lions, rikshas, shalyakas, forest cows, forest asses, tigers, small deer, buffalo, and many other animals who are fully enjoying their lives. Karnantrai kapadashvasyar nirjushtam vrikanabhipi kadali kanta samruddha nalini pulinashriyam. Sorry. They're very... Oh God, I'm really sorry about this, guys. I can't help myself. Kujuna means the calling of birds. Kujat. Yeah, Kujuna. Yeah, so calling of birds. Okay, sorry. There are varieties of deer, such as Karnantara, Ekapada, Ashvasya, Vrika, and Kasturi, the deer which bears musk. Besides the deer there are many banana trees which decorate the small hillside lakes very nicely. Paryastam nandayas satya snana punya tarodaya vilokya bhutesha giring vibuddha vismayam yayu. There is a small lake named Alakā in which Sati used to take her bath, and that lake is especially auspicious. All the demigods, after seeing the specific beauty of Kailāsa hill, were struck with wonder at the great opulence to be found there. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. According to the commentary called Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Chandra Chandrika, the water in which Sati used to bathe was Ganges water. In other words, the Ganges flowed through the Kailāsa Parvat. There is every possibility of accepting such a statement because Ganges water also flows from the hair of Lord Shiva. Since Ganges water rests on the head of Lord Shiva and then flows to the other parts of the universe, it is quite possible that the water in which Sati bathed, which was certainly very nicely scented, was Ganges water. Dadrishush tatrate ramyam alakam nama vaipurim vanam sogantikam chapi yatra tan nama pankajam. You know that whole story, right? About how Ganges came to this world and King Sagar and that whole thing. It's a whole long story. Anyways. Thus the demigods saw the wonderfully beautiful region known as Alakā and the forest known as Sugandhika, which means full of fragrance. The forest is known as Sugandhika because of its abundance of lotus flowers. Purport. Sometimes Alakā is known as Alakapuri, which is also the name of the abode of Kuvera. Kuvera's abode, however, cannot be seen from Kailāsa. Therefore, the region of Alakā referred to here is different from the Alakapuri of Kuvera. According to Viraragavacharya, Alakā means uncommonly beautiful. In the region of Alakā, the demigods saw there is a type of lotus flower known as Sugandhika that distributes an especially fragrant scent. Nanda chala kananda cha sarito bahyata pura tirtha para padamboja rajasati vapavane. They also saw the two rivers named Nanda and Alakananda. These two rivers are sanctified by the dust of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda. Yaya surastriyakshatar avaruya swadishnyata kredanti pungsasen chantyo vikaya ratikarshita. My dear Kshata, Vidura, Maitreya speaking to Vidura. My dear Kshata, Vidura, the celestial damsels come down to those rivers in their airplanes with their husbands, and after sexual enjoyment, they enter the water and enjoy sprinkling their husbands with water. Purport. It is understood that even the damsels of the heavenly planets are polluted by thoughts of sex enjoyment, and therefore they come in airplanes to bathe in the rivers Nanda and Alakananda. It is significant that these rivers, Nanda and Alakananda, are sanctified by the dust of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In other words, just as the Ganges is sacred because its water emanates from the toes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayan, so whatever water or anything that is in touch with devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it is purified and spiritualized. The rules and regulations of devotional service are based on this principle. Anything in touch with the lotus feet of the Lord is immediately freed from all material contamination. The damsels of the heavenly planets, polluted by thoughts of sex life, come down to bathe in the sanctified rivers and enjoy sprinkling water on their husbands. Two words are very significant in this connection. Rati Karshita means that the damsels become morose after sex enjoyment. Although they accept sex enjoyment as a bodily demand, afterwards they are not happy. Another significant point is that Lord Govinda, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is described here as Tirthapad. Tirtha means sanctified place, and Pad means the lotus feet of the Lord. People go to a sanctified place to free themselves from all sinful reactions. In other words, those who are devoted to the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, automatically become sanctified. The Lord's lotus feet are called Tirthapad because under their protection there are hundreds and thousands of saintly persons who sanctify the sacred places of pilgrimage. Srila Das Thakur, I'm gonna send this to Tirthapad. I'm sure he's read it already, but whatever. Srila Das Thakur, a great acharya of the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, advises us not to travel to different places of pilgrimage. Undoubtedly, it is troublesome to go from one place to another, but one who is intelligent can take shelter of the lotus feet of Govinda and thereby be automatically sanctified as a result of his pilgrimage. Anyone who is fixed in the service of the lotus feet of Govinda is called Tirthapad. He does not need to travel on various pilgrimages, for he can enjoy all the benefits of such travel simply by engaging in the service of the lotus feet of the Lord. Such a pure devotee who has implicit faith in the lotus feet of the Lord can create sacred places in any part of the world where he decides to remain. Tirthi Kurvanti Tirthani. The places are sanctified. That's from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 1:13-10. The places are sanctified due to the presence of pure devotees. Any place automatically becomes a place of pilgrimage if either the Lord or his pure devotee remains or resides there. In other words, a pure devotee who is engaged 100% in the service of the Lord can remain anywhere in the universe, and that part of the universe immediately becomes a sacred place where he can peacefully render service to the Lord as the Lord desires. Oh, I like that purport. Sorry, I'm going to just put this there. I'll post it on Facebook. Oops, whatever. I'll do it later. Okay. Yayostatsnana vibrashta navakunkuma pinjaram vitrisho pibantyamba payayanto gaja gaji. Let me just, whatever, doesn't matter. Just getting some text from there. There. Gaja gaji. After the damsels of the heavenly planets bathe in the water, it becomes yellowish in fragrance due to the kumkum from their bodies. Thus, the elephants come to bathe there with their wives, the she-elephants, and they also drink the water, although they are not thirsty. Tarahema, I love all these little details. Tarahema Maharatna Vimana Shatashankulam Jushtam Punya Janastri Biryatakam Satadirghanam. The airplanes of the heavenly denizens are bedecked with pearls, gold, and many valuable jewels. The heavenly denizens are compared to clouds in the sky, decorated with occasional flashes of electric lightning. Purport. The airplanes described in this verse are different from the airplanes of which we have experience. In the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam and all the Vedic literatures, there are many descriptions of viman, which mean airplanes. On different planets, there are different kinds of airplanes. On this gross planet Earth, there are airplanes run by machine. But on other planets, the airplanes are run not by machine, but by mantric hymns. They are also used especially for enjoyment by the denizens of the heavenly planets, so that they can go from one planet to another. On other planets, which are called siddhalokas, the denizens can travel from one planet to another without airplanes. The beautiful airplanes from the heavenly planets are compared here to the sky, because they fly in the sky. And the passengers are compared to the clouds. The beautiful damsels, the wives of the denizens of the heavenly planets, are compared to lightning. In summation, the airplanes with their passengers, which came from the higher planets to Kailāsa, were very pleasant to look at. That'd be so cool to see those kinds of airplanes. Hidva yaksheshvara purim vanam sogandikam chatat drumai kama dugar hridyam chitramala phala chadai. While traveling, the demigods passed over the forest known as Sogandika, which is full of varieties of flowers, fruits, and desire trees. While passing over the forest, they also saw the regions of Yaksheshvara. Purport. Yaksheshvara is also known as Kubera, and he is the treasurer of the demigods. And the descriptions of him in Vedic literature, it is stated that he is fabulously rich. It appears from these verses that Kailāsa is situated near the residential quarters of Kubera. It is also stated here that the forest is full of desire trees. In Brahma Samhita, we learn about the desire tree which is found in the spiritual world, especially in Krishnaloka, the abode of Lord Krishna. We learn here that such desire trees are also found in Kailāsa, the residence of Lord Shiva. by the grace of Lord of Shri Krishna. It thus appears that Kailāsa has a special significance. It is almost like the residence of Lord Krishna. Wow. Raktakanta kaganika swaramandita shatpadam kalahamsa kula preshtam karadanda jalashayam. I think shatpadam means bees, which have 6 feet, or 6 legs. Yep, bees. Translation. In that celestial forest, there were many birds whose necks were colored reddish, and whose sweet sounds mixed with the humming of the bees. The lakes were abundantly decorated with crying swans, as well as strong-stemmed lotus flowers. Purport. The beauty of the forest was intensified by the presence of various lakes. It is described herein that the lakes were decorated with lotus flowers, and with swans who played and sang with the birds and the humming bees. Considering all these attributes, one can imagine how beautiful this spot was, and how much the demigods passing through enjoyed the atmosphere. There are many paths and beautiful spots created by man on this planet Earth, but none of them can surpass those of Kailāsa, as they are described in these verses. Vanakunjara sangrishta harichandana vayuna adi punya jana strinam mohur unmattayan mana. All these atmospheric influences unsettled the forest elephants who flocked together in the sandalwood forest. And the blowing wind agitated the minds of the damsels there for further sexual enjoyment. Purport. Whenever there's a nice atmosphere in the material world, immediately there's an awakening of the sexual appetite in the minds of materialistic persons. This tendency is present everywhere within this material world, not only on this earth, but in higher planetary systems as well. In complete contrast with the influence of this atmosphere on the minds of the living entities within the material world is a description of the spiritual world. The women there are hundreds and thousands of times more beautiful than the women here in this material world. And the spiritual atmosphere is also many times better. Yet, despite the pleasant atmosphere, the minds of the denizens do not become agitated because in the spiritual world, the Vaikuntha planets, the spiritualistic minds of the inhabitants are so much absorbed in the spiritual vibration of chanting the glories of the Lord that such enjoyment could not be surpassed by any other enjoyment, even sex, which is the culmination of all pleasure in the material world. I like this. In other words, in the Vaikuntha world, in spite of its better atmosphere and facilities, there is no impetus for sex life. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 259, Param Dishtra Nivartate, the inhabitants are so spiritually enlightened that in the presence of such spirituality, sex life is insignificant. Vaidurya kritasopana vapya utpala malini praptam kim purushar drishtva ta'arada drishurvatam. They also saw that the bathing ghats and their staircases were made of Vaidurya mani. The water was full of lotus flowers. Passing by such lakes, the demigods reached a place where there was a great banyan tree. Sayojana satosheda padona vitapayata paryak krita chala chayo nirnidas tapavarjita. That banyan tree was 800 miles high, and its branches spread over 600 miles around. The tree cast a fine shade which permanently cooled the temperature, yet there is no noise of birds. Purport. Generally, in every tree there are bird nests, and the birds congregate in the evening to create noise. But it appears that this banyan tree was devoid of nests, and therefore it was calm, quiet, and peaceful. There are no disturbances from noise or heat, and therefore the place is just suitable for meditation. No noisy, annoying birds to disturb the meditation. Sorry. Okay. Tasmin Mahayoga Maye Mumukshu Sharane Sura Dadrishu Shivamasina Tyakta Marsham Ivantakam. The demigods saw Lord Shiva sitting under that tree, which was competent to give perfection to mystic yogis and deliver all people. As grave as time eternal, he appeared to have given up all anger. What time is, what are we reading up to? 41. Where are we now? 133. Okay, cool. Purport. In this verse, the word Mahayogamaya is very significant. Yoga means meditation on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Mahayoga means those who engage in the devotional service of Vishnu. Meditation means remembering, smaranam. There are 9 different kinds of devotional service, of which smaranam is one process. The yogi remembers the form of Vishnu within his heart. Thus, there are many devotees engaged in meditation on Lord Vishnu under the big banyan tree. The Sanskrit word maha is derived from the affix mahat. This affix is used when there is a great number or quantity. So Mahayoga indicates that there were many great yogis and devotees meditating on the form of Lord Vishnu. Generally, such meditators are desirous of liberation from material bondage, and they are promoted to the spiritual world, to one of the Vaikunthas. Liberation means freedom from material bondage or nescience. In the material world, we are suffering life after life because of our bodily identification, and liberation is freedom from that miserable condition of life. Sanandanadyar Mahasedaya Shantai Sang Shanta Vigraham Upasyamanam Sakyacha Bhartra Guyakarakshasam. Lord Shiva sat there, surrounded by saintly persons like Kuvera, the master of the Guhyakas, and the 4 Kumaras, who were already liberated souls. Lord Shiva was grave and saintly. Purport. The personalities sitting with Lord Shiva are significant because the 4 Kumaras were liberated from birth. It may be remembered that after... Wait, sorry, I've spaced out when I was reading. Okay, so he's surrounded by persons like Kuvera, the master of Guhyakas, the 4 Kumaras, who are already liberated souls. Okay, sorry. So it may be remembered that after the birth, these Kumars were requested by their father to get married and beget children in order to increase the population of the newly created universe. But they refused, and at that time, Lord Brahma was angry. In that angry mood, Rudra, or Lord Shiva, was born. Thus, they were intimately related. And Rudra is a different form of Lord Shiva, by the way, not the Shiva that is in Kailāsa. That Shiva in Kailāsa is Shambhu. But Rudra is a manifestation of Lord Shiva. But yeah, there's a special connection because Rudra is like the very close brother of the Kumaras. Kuvera, the treasurer of the demigods, is fabulously rich. Thus, Lord Shiva's association with the Kumaras and Kuvera indicates that he has all transcendental and material opulences. Actually, he is the qualitative incarnation of the Supreme Lord, the Gun Avatar. Therefore, his position is very exalted. Vedyatapo yogapatam astitam tam adishvaram charantam vishwasuhridam vatsalyal lokamangalam. The demigods saw Lord Shiva situated in his perfection as the master of the senses, knowledge, fruit of activities, and the path of achieving perfection. He was the friend of the entire world, and by virtue of his full affection for everyone, he was very auspicious. Purport. Lord Shiva is full of wisdom and tapasya, austerity. One who knows the modes of work is understood to be situated on the path of devotional service to the Supreme Supreme Personality of Godhead. One cannot serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead unless one has achieved full perfectional knowledge in the ways and means of performing devotional service. Lord Shiva is described here as Adishvar. Ishvar means controller, and Adishvar means particularly controller of the senses. Generally, our materially contaminated senses are apt to engage in sense gratificatory activities. But when a person is elevated by wisdom and austerity, the senses then become purified, and they become engaged in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord Shiva is the emblem of such perfection, and therefore in the scriptures it is said, Vaishnavanam yatha Shambhu. Lord Shiva is a Vaishnav. Lord Shiva, by his actions within this material world, teaches all conditioned souls how to engage in devotional service 24 hours a day. Therefore, he is described here as Loka Mangal, good fortune personified for all conditioned souls. Lingam cha tapasa bhishtam pasmadanda jatanjinam angena sandhyabhra rucha chandralekam cha bibhratam. He was seated on a deerskin and was practicing all forms of austerity. Because his body was smeared with ashes, he looked like an evening cloud. On his hair was the sign of a half moon, a symbolic representation. Purport. Lord Shiva's symptoms of austerity are not exactly those of a Vaishnav. Lord Shiva is certainly the number one Vaishnav, but he exhibits a feature for a particular class of men who cannot follow the Vaishnav principles. The Shaivites, the devotees of Lord Shiva, generally dress like Lord Shiva, and sometimes they indulge in smoking and taking intoxicants. Such practices are never accepted by the followers of Vaishnav rituals. Upavishtam darbhamayam vrishyam brahma sanatanam naradaya pravochantam prichate shinvatang satam. He was seated on a straw mattress and speaking to all present, including the sage Narad, he was seated on a straw mattress and spoke to all present, including the sage Narad, to whom he specifically spoke about the absolute truth. Purport. The Lord was sitting on a mattress of straw, because such a sitting place is accepted by persons who are practicing austerities to gain understanding of the absolute truth. In this verse, it is specifically mentioned that he was speaking to the great sage Narad, a celebrated devotee. Narad was asking Lord Shiva about devotional service, and Shiva, being the topmost Vaishnav, was instructing him. In other words, Lord Shiva and Narad were discussing the knowledge of the Veda, but it is to be understood that the subject matter was devotional service. Another point in this connection is that Lord Shiva is the supreme instructor, and the great sage Narad is the supreme audience. Therefore, the supreme subject matter of Vedic knowledge is bhakti, our devotional service. Kritvoror dakshine savyam paraparmang cha januni bahum prakoshtiksha malam asinam tarkamudraya. His left leg was placed on his right thigh, and his left hand was placed on his left thigh. In his right hand he held rudraksha beads. His sitting posture is called virasana. He sat in the virasana posture, and his finger was in the mode of argument. I'm sure Raseshwari Mataji knows the virasana. I don't know it. But purport. The sitting posture described herein is called virasana according to the system of Ashtanga Yoga performances. And the performance of yoga, there are 8 divisions, such as yam and niyam, controlling and following the rules and regulations, then practicing sitting postures, etc. Besides virasana, there are other sitting postures, such as padmasana and siddhasana. Practice of these asanas without elevating oneself to the position of realizing the supersoul Vishnu is not the perfectional stage of yoga, Lord Shiva is called Yogeshwar, the master of all yogis, and Krishna is also called Yogeshwar. Yogeshwar indicates that no one can surpass the yoga practice of Lord Shiva, and Yogeshwar indicates that no one can surpass the yogic perfection of Krishna. Another significant word is Tarka Mudra. This indicates that the fingers are opened and the second finger is raised, along with the arm, to impress the audience with some subject matter. This is actually a symbolic representation. Tam Brahma Nirvana Samadhimashitam Vyupashitam Girisham Yoga Kaksham Salokapala Munayo Manunam Adyamanum Pranjalaya Pranemu. Okay, we're almost finished. All the sages and demigods, headed by Indra, offered their respectful obeisances unto Lord Shiva with folded hands. Lord Shiva was dressed in saffron garments and absorbed in trance, thus appearing to be the foremost of all sages. Purport. In this verse, the word Brahmananda is significant. This Brahmananda, or Brahma Nirvana, is explained by Prahlad Maharaj. When one is completely absorbed in the Adhoksaj, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is beyond the perception of materialistic persons, one is situated in Brahmananda. It is impossible to conceive of the existence, name, form, quality, and pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because he is transcendently situated beyond the conception of materialistic persons. Because materialists cannot imagine or conceive of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they may think that God is dead, but factually he is always existing in his Satchidananda Vigraha, his eternal form. Constant meditation concentrated in the form of the Lord is called samadhi, ecstasy or trance. Samadhi means particularly concentrated attention. So one who has achieved the qualification of always meditating on the personality of Godhead is to be understood to be always in trance and enjoying Brahma Nirvana or Brahmananda. Lord Shiva exhibited those symptoms, and therefore it is stated that he was absorbed in Brahmananda. Another significant word is Yoga Kaksham. Yoga Kaksha is the sitting posture in which the left thigh is fixed under one's tightly knotted saffron-colored garment. Also, the word Manunam, Adyam, are significant here because they mean a philosopher, or one who is thoughtful and can think very nicely. Such a man is called Manu. Lord Shiva is described in this verse as the chief of all thinkers. Lord Shiva, of course, does not engage in useless mental speculation, but as stated in the previous verse, he is always thoughtful regarding how to deliver the demons from their fallen condition of life. It is said that during the advent of Lord Chaitanya, Sadashiva appeared as Advaita Prabhu, and Advaita Prabhu's chief concern was to elevate the fallen conditioned souls to the platform of devotional service to Lord Krishna. Since people were engaged in useless occupations which would continue their material existence, Lord Shiva, in the form of Lord Advaita, appealed to the Supreme Lord to appear as Lord Chaitanya to deliver these illusioned souls. Actually, Lord Chaitanya appeared on the request of Lord Advaita. Similarly, Lord Shiva has a sampradaya, the Rudra Sampradaya. He is always thinking about the deliverance of the fallen souls, as exhibited by Lord Advaita Prabhu. Wow, beautiful.
It's 8 o'clock.
It's 8 o'clock. Shall we finish? Let's see. Oh yeah, we can totally finish. We'll just be like 1 minute over time. Satupalabhyagatam atmayojnim surasureshar abhivanditangri utaya chakre shirasa abhivandanam arhatama kasya yataiva Vishnu. Lord Shiva's lotus feet were worshipped by both the demigods and demons. But still, in spite of his exalted position, as soon as he saw that Lord Brahma was there among all the other demigods, he immediately stood up and offered him respect by bowing down and touching his lotus feet, just as Vamandev offered his respectful obeisances to Kashyapa Muni. Purport. Kashyapa Muni was in the category of the living entities, but he had a transcendental son Vamandev, who was an incarnation of Vishnu. Thus, although Lord Vishnu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he offered his respects to Kashyapa Muni. Similarly, when Lord Krishna was a child, he used to offer his respectful obeisances to his mother and father, Nanda and Yashoda. Also, at the Battle of Kurukshetra, Lord Krishna touched the feet of Maharaj Yudhishthir because the king was his elder. It appears then that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, let me start over. It appears then that the Personality of Godhead, Lord Shiva and other devotees, in spite of their being situated in exalted positions, instructed by practical example how to offer obeisances to the superiors. I read that weird. Anyways, Lord Shiva offered his respectful obeisances to Brahma because Brahma was his father, just as Kashyapa Muni was the father of Vaman. Tatapare siddhagana maharshibir yevai samantaranani lalohitam namaskrita praha shankashekaram krita pranamang prahasan ivatmabu. All the sages who were sitting with Lord Shiva, such as Narad and others, also offered the respectful obeisances to Lord Brahma. After being so worshipped, Lord Brahma, smiling, began to speak to Lord Shiva. Purport. Lord Brahma was smiling because he knew that Lord Shiva is not only easily satisfied, but easily irritated as well. He was afraid that Lord Shiva might be in an angry mood because he had lost his wife and had been insulted by Daksha. In order to conceal this fear, he smiled and addressed Lord Shiva as follows. Okay, he was just hiding his fear with that smile. All right, so we'll read what Lord Brahma says tomorrow. 5 minutes overtime today. All right. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol. Jai Shishi Guru Garangandhar Giridhari, Shishi Radha Vinod Bihari Ju ki Jai, Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju ki Jai, Nitil Vishnu Vishnupad Ashatara Shatashmar, Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Gosai Maharaj Srila Gurudev ki Jai, Nitil Vishnu Vishnupad Ashatara Shatashmar, Srila Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Gosai Maharaj ki Jai, Nitil Vishnu Vishnupad Ashatara Shatashmar, Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Nitil Vishnu Vishnupad Ashatara Shatashmar, Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Gosai Maharaj ki Jai, Nitil Vishnu Vishnupad Ashatara Shatashmar, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Gosai Prabhupada ki Jai, Nitil Vishnu Mahabhagavat Srila Goksharas Babaji Maharaj ki Jai, Nitil Vishnu Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki Jai, Nitil Vishnu Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki Jai, Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga ki Jai, Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath, Shri Jeev Gopal Patadasha Gunashar Gosai Prabhu ki Jai, Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gopal Shada Brinda ki Jai, Nama Chai Shri Hairas Thakur ki Jai, Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai, Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaura Mandala Braja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham ki Jai, Sarva Abhishta Pradata Giriraj Maharaj ki Jai, Shri Radha Kunda Shama Kund ki Jai, Shri Yamuna Devi Ganga Devi ki jai, Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki jai, Shri Bhakti Devi ki jai, Shri Purnamasi Yogamaya ki jai, Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev ki jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai, Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Keshavashacha Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi Sattvatai Namo Namaha. Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyaiva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Oh, and Pradyumna Prabhu, just in answer, you're asking about Navaratri. I don't actually know anything about Navaratri. I don't think it's something that we really follow in our Gaudiya line so much. But I could be wrong. I just never seen it followed in the Mat. So I don't know anything about it really. All right. Dandavat Pranam. See you all tomorrow. Haribo. Jai Shri Radhe Haribo Madhavi Didi, Pradyumna Prabhu, and devotee from Philippines. Are you related to Krishna Chandra Borja? Anyways, thank you for joining. Haribo. Dandavat Pranam Raseshwari Mataji. Haribo. Haribo.